And we're back with another coach kit. This time it's from Southern Pride, or again it's from Southern Pride. It's going to be a TPO, diagram 729. I've done a coach kit from this company before and it turned out really well. So out of the box, again it's going to be very few diagrams and a lot of hieroglyphics to translate. There's an awful lot in the box. 4 sheets of instructions, some etched, photo etched parts, transfers, the clear plastic sides that are common to all of the coach kits, the chassis, the roof, the side cutout parts, bogies, underframe detail, and a couple of sprues with a whole host of detailing parts on them. You'll have to excuse the bit of a sniffle that I've got. I've got just a touch of hay fever. It's not Wuhan flu. Well, that's what I hope it is anyway. So, going against convention, I'm going to start with the roof this time. That means marking out and drilling holes for the ventilators and rain strip, and then I'm also going to paint it as well, because it's a completely separate part of the model. It doesn't really matter which order you do it in, really, I suppose. I glued the ventilators on with Araldite, which was a mistake really. I should have used super glue, and like a div I forgot to put the rain strip on before I painted it, so I had to go and then repaint it again. Next up was the sides, which for all of these kits come as plastic, clear plastic sides, which you then attach sort of transfers, decals, vinyls, whatever you want to call them, to the sides. And because this isn't a normal sort of passenger coach, it's got big cutouts in the side. It needed precise measurements to get it absolutely right. It was a good job I covered them in masking tape, A, to protect them, and then B, because so I could see the actual marks that I'd made. With all the cuts made, it was then time to put them all together and make sure that I'd cut them to exactly the right length. Otherwise it would have had implications when you put the ends on. I did a conversion on one of these a few years ago. That was from a Lima coach with Hurst sides, and the observant of you will notice that Hurst didn't do this conversion. So what I actually did was a conversion of a conversion. So why didn't I just strip that one and repaint it? Well, I had the option of re-wheeling it, because when I rebuilt my railway I used code 75 track, which means Lima wheels won't run on it. Southern Pride do provide a paper telescopic corridor connection, but I preferred not to use that because it causes a lot of derailments when coupled next to things that haven't got that sort of corridor connection. A little bit of work to do on the underframe, cutting little lugs off so the coach sides sit in that groove nicely before putting the battery boxes and trussing underneath. This is the second batch of vehicles that look like this, with the distinctive nets on the side. The others being diagram 720, that's 80300 to 80318, and they're the ones with the deep windows, which if you want that one, then you buy the Bachmann model. To the Great Train Robbery, August 8th, 1963, security was tightened up, which is why the shift from the deep windows to the windows on this one, which are really thin and small, presumably so no body could fit through them. Of the 11 vehicles built to this diagram, that's 80328 to 80338, Only the first 5, the way I read it, were fitted with arms and nets. That's A0328 to 833 and 80334 to 38 had the provision of nets and arms but weren't fitted. That's the way I read it anyway. But after 1971 they were all removed anyway, which is before my time scale anyway, so that's why I wouldn't put them on. Oh, look at that gloopy Revel contactor glue. Gluing the ends on, and then the buffer beams and buffers, various little details. The chassis is pretty much done. The clear plastic sides were the next things to get glued on, and which I was a bit wary of this because the last time I built one of these I dolloped a whole load of glue on the side, which didn't end up well, which is why I've got the masking tape just to protect it. With the sides glued on, it was time to prep for getting the transfer sides on, and that involved quite a lot of paint actually. It does say in the instructions that the sides are a one-step application and you only get one chance at it, which is true, but if you do mess it up, it's quite easy to sort of peel the gummy glue off of the back and then reattach it with something more substantial. This happened to me, or on the doors at least, and I used a Revel contactor. And so long as you don't get it on the face or the printed side, it should be okay. There was just a little bit of a gap and an edge that didn't sit right, so I decided to fill them and paint them, and that cured it. It seemed to look quite well afterwards. Before the decals went on, it was time to do the little bits. That's the door hinges and handles and door stops. And I didn't manage to lose any this time around either, which I was quite pleased at. The decals, or transfers if you wish, are of press fixed type, which I quite like them actually. And they come supplied with the kit, so there was no need to buy other ones. And being press fix, the hardest part is getting them in the right position, because once you've pressed them down, there's no adjustment, especially after you start just dropping a little bit of water on to release the backing paper. The other thing I like about this kit is the sides come in a high gloss finish, which means you don't have to put a gloss coat down to put the transfers on. It's already there. They were just a little bit too shiny though, so once all the transfers were on, I masked out the windows and then give the whole thing a satin coat as well as sealing the transfers in at the same time. I then opted for Bachmann B4 bogies. They're slightly wrong because they've got the wrong swing arm on them, but it's hardly noticeable, and because I'm not a rivet counter, there are several adapters that you can use that are attached to the sprues for putting in various different manufacturers' bogies. And because I wanted it to be semi-permanently coupled to a Bachmann coach, I used the Bachmann sort of coach coupling, permanent coupling, and used these Symoba kinematic sliding couplings, available from DCC Supplies. I'll leave a link in the description. And my word, that cutout looks awful. It's like looking at bugs that live under your fingernails through a microscope. And well, yeah, it's underneath and you can't see it, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem. Now that everything's in the coach that should be in it, it's time to get the roof on, which you can see I added a few highlights to, just to make it look just a little bit different as opposed to just a plain grey roof. And after 10 days of laying about on my workbench, I also never managed to lose the brass screws to retain the roof on. I really enjoyed building this kit. yeah, went together really well. I'm quite pleased with the results. I'm sometimes a bit dubious about putting kit built stock up against ready to run models, because there's sometimes a little bit of a discrepancy, but as you'll see in a minute, this one holds its own quite really well. So we'll close with it entering revenue earning service on the layout, hauled by 25071, which I've been reliably informed is one of my better videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.